Hey everyone, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by John Cartwright to discuss the recent delay to Metroid Prime 4. So, let's get started because... wow!
I think the word delay is selling it short. Like, this isn't just a delay, they've restarted it from scratch. Like, they've basically they're making a new game.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. I don't even know how to go about this because all I can say is I'm kind of gobsmacked by the whole thing, but I'm also weirdly impressed that Nintendo has decided okay, we restarted development rather than just keeping people on pins and needles about when it's going to get shown off for the next how long. We're just going to come out there and say it. But I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be kind of okay with a delay if it means we're going to get a better game and it's going back to Retro Studios.
I appreciate their transparency, because they said something along the lines of they weren't happy with how this was portrayed as a follow-up to Metroid Prime, and it kind of shows that they understand the legacy of Metroid Prime. They understand it's one of the best games of all time, and if a follow-up were anything short of that, it would just disappoint everyone. So I like that they've been so transparent and they've actually restarted development because they're not happy with it. But at the same time, this is a major blow, because this was one of their biggest upcoming titles, and now we have no idea when it's coming. This could be years off now.
Yeah, I could see this being potentially 2021, at the earliest, maybe. I don't think we'll see 2020. If we see 2020, Retro's, all of a sudden, I don't know what lit a fire under their ass, considering we haven't seen anything from them since Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, that kind of begs the question, what are Retro doing? Because now they're doing Prime 4, but since Tropical Freeze was just 2014, it's been 5 years since then. What are they doing now? They have Metroid Prime 4 under their belt, but they probably have a new game as well? How are they handling this? And I think more importantly, are the Metroid Prime team still at Retro Studios? Because Prime 3 was 2007, 12 years ago. Are the staff even still there anymore?
Yeah, I know. Are the key people that made Metroid what it was still there? But they're still getting overseen by the same producer. So potentially, I mean, he was able to get a really good game out of Mercury Steam with Samus Returns. So potentially, he can guide them to a good vision. But I don't know what was happening with the other team that they weren't able to achieve what they wanted. Here's the thing that gets to me is this is the game that gets essentially moved around to a different team because they're just not happy with its development. Look at all the Nintendo games in the past that have come out. They were satisfied with those? How bad was Prime 4 initially that they weren't satisfied that they actually restarted development when... Well, look at everything else we've seen come out. Look at Sticker Star, for example.
It's interesting that Tanabe, is the producer between both the old Prime 4 and this new Prime 4. But how did it get to the point where they just said, we can't salvage this? I would have at least expected them to just give all the assets to Retro Studios and say, can you please try and refine this? But no, they're putting the whole thing in the bin and just starting again. I don't think we've ever had this from Nintendo before. I can't think of any public display of this before. I'm sure it's happened behind closed doors, but with an announced game, I think this is their first time ever just scratching a project.
Yeah, I think so. I cannot think of any other time off the top of my head. It's just sort of there. It's just... I don't know what to expect anymore about this. I mean, we didn't really know what to expect from Metroid Prime 4 initially. I guess it makes sense why we haven't seen any kind of trailer yet, because they just weren't satisfied with what they were showing. So now I wonder exactly what's going to happen.
I do appreciate the Retro Studios are back, though. It feels like they've been leading up to this story since Prime 3, because we know Prime 4 is going to follow Sylux, who was also in Federation Force a little bit. And Prime 3 hinted at that at the end credit scene. So it's not like they're being thrown into this story that they have no control over. Nothing's really happened in Prime since Prime 3, so Retro Studios are still very much in their comfort zone with this, I think, provided the staff is still there. So it's probably a good move. It's just a bit... It just hurts a bit that we're not going to be playing this game for so long, but I'm sure it's probably for the best. We're probably still going to have a great game out of this.
I'm confident that we'll see a better game out of this. At least I hope so. We'll definitely find out. But it kind of reminds me of the whole situation behind Toy Story 2. where they were making this sequel to their big movie, and nothing. The ideas they had just weren't working, so it had to get a lot of guys to come in, fix it up, get it to a working state, and they ended up making a movie that I think is even better than the original. So maybe we'll get a situation like that where they're ready, they're refreshed, they're looking at this idea and like, okay, what can we do with this? How can we make this something that people really enjoy on the Switch and go from there? Could also be a situation like, well, we don't know what the heck we're doing, just slap something together. And is that enough for you, Nintendo? Sure. But considering they just did that, took it away from another developer, I don't know if the Nintendo's going to allow for that unless we start developer hopping until we find one that actually can pull this off.
I don't think many other developers would just scratch their projects like this. Like, even if it's a mediocre game, I think most of them would still just release them because it's expensive to make games like this. And they must be throwing away a lot of money by restarting the development again. And on Bandai Namco's part too, I mean, I know they never officially said Bandai Namco were developing this game, but it's pretty common knowledge that they probably were. Like, what's their relationship like with them now? Are they going to keep collaborating with them? I'm sure they will, because Bandai Namco are a huge part of Nintendo's first-party efforts now with like Smash and all those Wii U games they help with.
Exactly. You just have to look at the development of Smash and think, okay, this just isn't Bandai Namco's type of game.
Right. And yeah, that's a good point too. Like, was it ever going to be Bandai Namco's kind of game? They've always been kind of an odd studio for this, because they don't really have any other games that mirror Prime. And I've always been a bit concerned about Prime 4. I've been concerned what kind of route they'll follow. Because Metroid isn't a combat-heavy game. It's one about exploration and atmosphere. And I don't think that many developers can really capture that kind of tone. Maybe that's evident with Prime 4 being cancelled now, or at least restarted now. But yeah, Retro are a very special developer, and even in like Tropical Freeze, there are elements of Metroid Prime in there, like their contextual platforming designs. That's something that's very Metroid Prime-esque. So even if the staff aren't there, I think Retro Studios still have the same ideals they've shown in Donkey Kong. And it's a good move. I think it is a good move, even if it's a little bit dampening on our hopes.
Yeah, I mean, it's dampening, but honestly, the fact that we could get a better product out of this, it's back to retro. I think that just the fact that it is back to retro, I think is going to soften a huge blow for a lot of people, and the fact that you're just so open with it. The fact that they're not just wondering and waiting and just like, what's going to happen and all that stuff. And that means they can re-surprise people. Like, when they finally show off a trailer for this game showing actual gameplay, they can blow people's minds. Like, it's like, holy crap, we're finally seeing Metroid Prime 4. And now it's just going to be all that game that's always nebulously there, but not quite revealed yet. Kind of like how Smash was. Like, you knew a Smash was coming for Switch, we just didn't know what it was. So now we're going to get that surprise all over again, with hopefully some actual details.
I suppose now the game is even further off. That kind of misplaces where I expect Prime Trilogy to come in. Because we've all kind of said in the past we expect Prime Trilogy to be ported to Switch. It kind of makes sense for them to do it later now. Because Prime 4 is probably not coming until, as you said, like 2021 or something. So I wouldn't expect Prime Trilogy this year anymore. I'm kind of putting that as like a 2020 title. Because it's like a buffer title, I guess. It's to keep excitement going for Prime. And if you release it 3 years before Prime 4, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, but I also like strike while the iron's hot. Everybody's talking about Metroid Prime, get people interested in that. And by the time it does come out, Prime 4 is getting talked about and released, put it on their new style of play selects and have it cheaper. Something to that effect. I feel like they could get it out earlier, especially to satiate the fans that were hoping for Metroid Prime 4, because that's the balance they got to do now, keeping the fans that were waiting happy and keeping people interested for the new one. And I think it's probably a better idea to keep, especially while the iron's hot with Switch, probably still release it this year and get fans that are like, dang it, we don't get Metroid Prime 4, but hey, 3 already great Metroid Prime games are on the Switch to play on the go. Okay, I'm okay with this. Maybe they can re-release Federation Force like an HD version on Switch.
You're evil.
I'm not evil. That is a good game.
It's not a bad game, yeah, but not the best reputation. I also don't think this is it for Metroid either. Like, I'm pretty positive Mercury Steam are probably working on another 2D game. They did a great job of Samus Returns. They kind of hinted towards more at the end of Samus Returns. So even if Prime 4 is a while away, there's probably still some more Metroid to come.
Oh yeah. If we get a Fusion remake or God willing, a Metroid 5, I think people would be like, Metroid Prime 4 what? Or at least the hardcore Metroid fans would be like, Prime 4 what?
And yeah, I guess 2019 as a year is already pretty packed. We don't know much about the release schedule, but we know there's games like Animal Crossing and Pokemon coming, and they're huge titles. They're the best-selling titles on 3DS, on other handheld platforms, and Metroid Prime 4 would have been great this year. But I don't think it really harms 2019's lineup at all.
Yeah, definitely not. Metroid has always been like one of those. It's like an A-list, but it's also kind of B-list as far as sales are concerned.
Yeah, A-list in quality, B-list in financial.
Yeah, exactly. So this is not going to be a huge blow to Nintendo, but they know that their fan base is there, and if they're going to get people into Metroid, this is the time to do it, especially with the Switch. I don't think this is going to hurt Nintendo too much, and honestly, I think this just makes Nintendo look better in a lot of people's eyes, especially with just the transparency. I really can't commend that enough, because you don't have to wait. Again, it's just a relief that, like, okay, I can stop worrying about this now. Stop, guessing. We're not going to have us going, is this going to be the year that they reveal Metroid Prime 4? It's like, no, now I can just be like, okay, it'll come when it comes.
And this is the first we've heard from Retro Studios since Tropical Freeze. I know they did the port for Switch as well, but they've been kind of out of the field since then. And it makes me wonder, is this fresh news? Like, have Retro Studios just started Prime 4? Or have they been preparing this for a while? Because the way it's presented says to me that this is kind of something that's just happened. Mm-hmm. There's very few details. All we know is that the game's been restarted and Retro Studios are on it. If this were in development for a while, I think they might have given us like a little glimpse of the game or something. But no, we literally saw nothing.
Yeah, I think it's probably best we didn't get a glimpse. That way we don't build up that expectation again. It just reset, get the Retro back to work, go from there, see what they come up with, and then show it off. I think that makes sense.
I do wonder why Retro weren't the developers to begin with. Like, did they decline it, or did Nintendo just want like a fresh perspective on Metroid Prime?
I don't know. That's a very good question, because you'd think it'd be Retro, but yeah, I don't know the decision-making process there. Maybe Retro is working on something else, and now that they've had that time to work on something else, it's finally ready to be released, or not. They don't need the full team on it. They can put just some remaining members and shift everybody over to Prime 4.
Maybe. And expectations now are higher than ever. Like, if this Prime 4 doesn't deliver, then that's going to be a big blow. When you've announced a game and you show nothing for over a year, and then you cancel that game and restart it, you cannot underdeliver. Like, this has to be a great game. Otherwise, it's just like, it'd be a waste of time and money if it doesn't deliver.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation Nintendo finds themselves in. I don't know how they're really going to go about it. I still think, based on the knowledge we have, this is probably the best move they could have made in this situation.
Yeah, agreed. And we'll probably see another Retro Studios game soon. I imagine they have to be wrapping something up, because it has been a long time since Tropical Freeze, and then I guess it's just all hands on deck for Prime 4.
Mm-hmm. And then Donkey Kong 3, Monkeys in Space.
That's all we need.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Alright, John, well, any other thoughts on this whole Metroid Prime 4 delay?
I'm still processing it. Like, this is not what I expected to see today. I'm partly happy, partly relieved, and just partly disappointed as well. I'm a huge Metroid Prime fan. I wanted to play Prime 4 soon, but I'm happy to wait for a better game, though. Yeah,
I was waking up early to play Kingdom Hearts 3, and then this drops. I'm like, oh, okay, this is big. It just kind of blew my mind. I'm like, John, stuff is happening. East Coasters, or Eastern people, Eastern time zone and beyond. We need to get all hands on deck. But I think that does cover it for our Metroid Prime 4 discussion. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And of course, make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Metroid and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.